Have you ever wondered why the woman who once clung to your arm, who lit up when you walked into the room, can suddenly vanish from your life and reappear on someone else's, not months later, not after a drawn-out separation, but almost instantly, as if she'd been rehearsing her exit for weeks? You sit there, replaying every conversation, every date, every smile, trying to find the exact moment she started pulling away. And then you realize she probably had one foot out the door long before you noticed. It's brutal to admit, but in modern dating, you are rarely her only option. The moment she feels the emotional high fading when the thrill of conquering you gives way to the reality of keeping you, she scans the horizon for the next man who can feed her ego. And if you've been unknowingly making the mistakes that drain her attraction, her departure is not a matter of if, but when. Here's the first truth most men refuse to swallow. Women don't fall out of love overnight. They transition. The warmth doesn't turn cold suddenly. It cools in small, almost invisible steps. Fewer affectionate touches, shorter texts, delayed replies, a sudden "I'm tired" instead of a long conversation. Each tiny withdrawal is a test not of your love, but of your attention discipline. If she pulls back and you chase harder, she learns two things. One, she can control your emotional state, and two, you're predictable. Predictable men don't hold a beautiful woman's attention for long. Let me give you an example I've seen play out countless times. A man starts dating a woman who's clearly used to attention, the kind of woman who gets double takes when she walks in anywhere. At first, he plays it cool. He responds on his own time. He keeps his plans, keeps his hobbies. She finds that intoxicating because it forces her to work for his presence. But then she starts opening up. He starts investing more, texting constantly, prioritizing her over his own schedule. At first, she smiles. Then, slowly, her replies get shorter. She cancels a date, says she's busy. And here's the killer. Instead of pulling back and creating space, he doubles down, trying to win her back. She doesn't see that as love. She sees it as loss of value. The tactical move here is deceptively simple, but brutally hard for most men. Match her investment. Never exceed it. If she takes 3 hours to reply, you don't fire back in 3 minutes. If she skips out on a plan, you don't beg for a reschedule, you simply fill your time with something else. This isn't playing games. It's protecting your market value in her mind, because in her world, there's always another man willing to give her all his attention. Your power lies in being the one man who won't. And here's another layer. Women test not just your attention, but your self-respect. They want to know, will you abandon your standards to keep me happy? If the answer is yes, your days are numbered. For example, she might start flirting with other men in front of you, subtly at first, just to see if you'll let it slide. If you ignore it completely, she assumes you're blind or weak. If you explode, she sees you as insecure. The balanced response, a calm, direct boundary. That's not my style. You don't yell, you don't plead. You just make it clear that respect is not negotiable and you're willing to walk if it's crossed. Men lose beautiful women not because the women are naturally disloyal, but because they fail these small, consistent tests of value. And once she senses that you've stopped being the challenge, she starts preparing her next move. You might not notice the late night just with friends outings or the sudden interest in needing space, but these are her way of building an exit ramp without confrontation. By the time she's gone, her new connection is already in place. The reality you need to face is this in her mind. The emotional high of a new man is stronger than the comfort of a stable one if that stability feels like boredom. Your job is not to constantly entertain her, that's exhausting and impossible, but to maintain the gravity that made her orbit you in the first place. That means keeping your independence sacred, your self-respect untouchable, and your emotional pace steady no matter what she does. Ask yourself this right now in your last relationship. Did you chase harder the moment she started pulling away? Did you lower your standards just to keep the peace? Did you ignore warning signs because you were afraid of losing her? If so, you were training her to believe she could leave you without consequence. And a beautiful woman who thinks she can do better and that you'll take her back if she fails has no reason to stay. Have you ever done this and didn't realize it pushed her away? Tell me what happened. What's the hardest thing you've faced when trying to keep a woman interested? Drop your story below. Which mistake do you see yourself making the most? Be honest in the comments. The part most men never see, the part that destroys them, is how seamlessly she makes the transition. 1 week she's still lying next to you, smiling, laughing at your jokes, maybe even holding your hand in public. The next, she's colder, distracted, less available, yet she doesn't officially end it. That's because she's not ready to cut the cord until she has something else to grab onto. She doesn't want to leap into emptiness. She wants to step into another man's arms while you're still trying to figure out what went wrong. This is why so many men are blindsided. You think her new relationship happened fast, but the truth is, it was built in the shadows while you were busy overcompensating. That friend from work, that guy at the gym, the one she swears is just someone she talks to sometimes. He's been quietly positioned as her emotional backup. Every time you failed a test by being too available, too reactive, too afraid to lose her, she logged it away, and it strengthened her case for why the next man might be better. Now, here's the psychological trap. When a man feels her slipping away, his instinct is to prove himself. He thinks, if I just show her how much I care, she'll come back. So he buys gifts, sends long, emotional texts, rearranges his life for her. But in her mind, that's not proof of love, it's proof of weakness. She's not consciously trying to be cruel. In fact, she might even tell herself she appreciates the effort. But attraction doesn't work like gratitude. The harder you push, the faster she files you under safe, predictable, and replaceable. Let me give you a real example. A friend of mine, Tom, dated a woman who could have walked into any room and made it hers. At first, he played it right. He was focused on his own projects, had his own life, and she fought for his time. But after 6 months, he noticed she was going out more with her girls, posting more selfies, and getting more attention online. He panicked. He started checking her social media, questioning her about every night out. He thought he was fighting for the relationship, but what he was really doing was showing her he no longer believed he could keep her without constant surveillance. Within a month, she was with someone else. Not because she wanted a better man, but because she wanted to feel that electric pull again. The strategic counter here isn't romantic gestures or begging for reassurance. It's recalibrating your value in real time. If she starts withdrawing, you don't chase, you match her energy or pull back further. If she cancels on you, you don't rearrange your week, you keep moving. This is not about punishing her, it's about reminding her and yourself that you are not waiting around for scraps of attention. Another critical move is to protect your frame. Your frame is the mental and emotional space you operate from, your rules, your priorities, your standards. When a beautiful woman tests you, she's really testing whether you'll abandon your frame for her approval. If you do, you've told her, without words, that her validation is more important than your identity. That's when she starts searching for a man who won't break so easily. Here's a scenario to study. Imagine she starts taking longer to reply to your texts, hours instead of minutes. Most men will react in one of two ways. They'll either send a flurry of messages to reignite her, or they'll confront her with neediness. Why are you ignoring me? Both kill attraction. The better play: You match her pace without comment. She takes 5 hours, you take 6. She sends short replies, you keep yours just as brief. And in the meantime, you fill your life with things that make you unavailable. You're not sitting by the phone waiting for her to notice you're out living, which forces her to feel the absence of your attention. Understand this, her leaving isn't always about finding someone objectively better. Often, it's about chasing a feeling she had at the start, the mystery, the uncertainty, the tension. If you can keep that alive without turning it into a manipulative game, you'll stand apart from every man who smothers her once he has her. But you can't fake this. You can't pretend to have boundaries while secretly obsessing over her every move. She'll feel the performance. This requires actually being willing to lose her, not because you want to, but because you value yourself more than you fear her absence. So ask yourself, in your last relationship, did you ever keep pursuing her harder when she became distant, only to watch her slip further away? Did you ever sense she had someone else waiting in the background but ignored the signs because you didn't want to face them? Did you ever hand her control of your emotions and then wonder why she stopped respecting you? What's the most painful sign you've ever ignored? Tell me in the comments. When you felt her energy shift, how did you react? Do you think you'd be able to pull back instead of chasing if it happened again? The part no one warns you about is how quickly she rewrites the story once she's gone. You'll see her smiling in photos with the new guy, telling herself and maybe even mutual friends that things had been over for a while with you. She's not lying to be malicious. She's rewriting the past to make her decision feel justified. And the longer you sit in shock, the easier it is for her version to become the official record. That's why, the moment you sense she's halfway out, your first priority isn't convincing her to stay, it's reclaiming your position in the frame of the breakup. If you let her be the one to fade while you chase, she leaves as the chooser, and you remain the rejected. But if you match her distance or even initiate the withdrawal, you flip the dynamic. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about refusing to play the role of the abandoned man. Here's something most men don't realize. Attraction doesn't die the second she leaves. In many cases, she'll circle back emotionally even if she never returns physically, if she feels a sudden absence of your validation. But that only happens if you disappear on your own terms, if you keep texting, keep liking her posts, keep checking in after she's gone. You give her the comfort of knowing she can have both worlds, the new man and your lingering attention. That's the worst position you can put yourself in. Think of it like this. A man I knew, Marcus, was left for another guy after a 2-year relationship. Instead of chasing her or asking why, he went completely silent. He didn't unfollow her, didn't block her, just vanished from her life. He filled his time with training, travel, and projects. 6 weeks later, she was messaging him about missing their conversations. By then, he'd already detached enough to see the message for what it was, an ego check, not a genuine return, because he didn't cling. He could see clearly. That's the position you want to be in. Strategically, your best weapon in this scenario is indifference paired with visible self-progress. This isn't the kind of fake, "Look how happy I am without you" performance people post online. This is real investment in your life so that, even if she checks in, she finds a man who didn't collapse after losing her. Because if she thinks you fell apart, she'll never see you as someone she could admire again. Now, let's talk about why she's able to leave so seamlessly in the first place pre-selection. Beautiful women are constantly given signals that they're wanted. Even in a committed relationship, she gets approached, DM'd, invited, noticed. She doesn't need to go looking for options. They present themselves daily. If you forget this and start acting like she lives in your world instead of you existing in hers, you'll miss how quickly those options can turn into actual contenders. Your counter is not paranoia. It's not interrogating her or controlling her movements. That only accelerates the exit. Your counter is to remain a man she has to work to keep, not because you're playing games, but because your life is full enough that losing her wouldn't end you. This balance, making her feel chosen but not owned, is what makes her second guess leaving. And here's where most men fail. They confuse love with unlimited access. In the beginning, she loved that she had to wonder about you. She loved not being 100% sure of your schedule, your thoughts, your next move. Once she's certain of everything, where you'll be, how you'll react, how much you'll forgive, the curiosity dies. That's when she starts scanning for a man who gives her that uncertainty again. You can't rewind to the first weeks, but you can reintroduce unpredictability, not by playing mind games, but by recentering your life on your own mission. Stop being instantly available. Decline an invitation now and then. Pursue something that has nothing to do with her, and don't overshare every detail. The less she feels she's mapped your entire world, the more she has to earn her place in it. Ask yourself, if she left tomorrow, would you have enough going on to keep moving without missing a beat? Or would you collapse and wait for her to come back? Be honest. Because the way you answer that question is the same way she feels your energy every day. When you've been left before, did you stay in her frame or take back your own? What's the first thing you would do differently if it happened again? Have you ever had her try to come back after leaving for someone else? Here's the thing no man wants to admit most of the time. She doesn't actually trade up when she leaves. She trades for different. That difference might only be temporary excitement, a new face, new conversations, the thrill of the unknown. But in the moment, it feels more powerful than what you were giving her, because what you were giving had become predictable. That's the danger for men who mistake stability for attraction. Stability is valuable, but it's not intoxicating. Early on, you had both. You were solid and unpredictable. You had your own rhythm, and she had to tune herself to you. Over time, you let her dictate the rhythm, and that's when the dynamic shifted. The moment she feels she's fully figured you out, she doesn't feel the same spark. She might still care for you, but she won't fight for you. There's a phrase I've used before: a beautiful woman must feel she can lose you, not because you're threatening to leave, but because your life has its own gravity. The minute she knows you've built your world around her, you've told her she's the sun and you're a planet in orbit. The women who leave for someone else, they often leave because the new man seems like his own son. He's harder to read, harder to please, harder to fully claim. And that contrast is addictive. Let me give you a sharp example. A guy named Sean dated a model-level woman for a year. At first, he was constantly busy with work, travel, and friends. She had to schedule time with him. She bragged to her friends about how mysterious and in demand he was. Then, he moved in with her, cut back on work projects to focus on the relationship, and started saying yes to everything she suggested. Within 6 months, she was emotionally gone. He tried to win her back by doing more, being more romantic, being more present. She left for a man who had half his income, but twice his independence. The lesson isn't to become cold or unfeeling. It's to understand that your independence, your pace, your mission, your standards is what made her see you as high value. The moment you trade that for comfort, you trade attraction for security, and security alone doesn't keep her. Now, here's a tactical shift that will save you. Stop rewarding disengagement. If she starts showing less enthusiasm, you don't respond by giving more. You let the distance sit. If she goes a weekend without making plans with you, you don't fill the gap with an invitation. You let her feel your absence. This isn't punishment, it's letting natural consequences do their work. If she's still interested, she'll close the gap. If she's not, you get the truth faster and with less damage. Another key is learning to read the difference between a rough patch and an exit strategy. In a rough patch, she still invests, maybe not with the same passion, but with effort. In an exit strategy, She starts extracting herself from shared routines, stops talking about the future, and becomes more protective of her time. When you see this, don't confront with "Are you leaving me?" that hands her all the power. Instead, you scale back your own emotional availability and see if she notices or cares. And here's where your mindset matters most. You have to be okay with losing her, not because you want to, but because if your fear of loss is stronger than your self-respect, she will feel it and use it, even subconsciously. A man who cannot walk away is a man who will be walked over. Think about this in your own life. Have you ever seen her interest fade and responded with more effort instead of less? Have you ever ignored your own boundaries to keep her happy, only to have her leave anyway? Have you ever been so afraid of losing her that you became a version of yourself you didn't even respect? If you have, you already know the outcome. So tell me, what's the biggest shift in yourself you wish you had made sooner? Have you ever watched her lose respect for you before she left? Do you think you could stay calm and let the distance happen next time? And here's the final, brutal truth when a beautiful woman leaves you for someone else. She's not just making a choice about love, she's making a statement about value. In her mind, she's moving toward what feels like a higher emotional return. That might not be objectively true, but perception is reality in attraction. And once she's decided you no longer create the feeling she craves, she will rewrite every good memory you shared into a justification for leaving. This is why men who beg or try to win her back almost never succeed. The second you start convincing her, you confirm her decision was right because you're no longer the man she had to earn. The man she chose at the start would have let her go rather than plead. That man's presence was the prize. The only real power you have when she's halfway out the door is to stop giving her what she expects, your guaranteed attention. You disrupt the pattern. She's bracing for you to react with panic, tears, or overcompensation. Instead, you stay steady, even detached. You don't block her in anger. You don't send late-night "I miss you" texts. You don't stalk her online. You let her sit with the silence. And that silence does something she didn't predict. It makes her compare. She compares the man who isn't chasing her now with the man she's running toward. In those quiet moments, she realizes the new guy hasn't proven anything yet. He's still in the honeymoon phase where everything is effort and novelty. You, on the other hand, are not playing the role of the discarded. You're a man moving forward. That contrast plants doubt. And doubt is the crack in the door you didn't have to force open. But here's the mindset shift you must burn into your identity even if she comes back. You don't take her as she was. The woman who left once will test again. The only version of her worth accepting is the one who returns with humility, not entitlement. Anything less is an invitation for a repeat. So you protect yourself by keeping your frame no matter the outcome. Your frame is your internal code, what you tolerate, how you live, what you expect. If she aligns with it, you welcome her. If she doesn't, you don't bend it for her. You might lose women that way, but you'll never lose yourself. I've seen men try every trick, grand gestures, public declarations, desperate closure meetings. None of them work long term because they come from fear, not from strength. The men who actually regain attraction, whether with the same woman or someone new, are the ones who refused to collapse. They acted as if their value didn't depend on her choice. They kept training, building, connecting, creating. They understood that the ultimate revenge is living so well that her leaving looks like the worst decision she ever made. So if you've been left before, here's your mission. Don't erase her from your memory, but stop writing her into your future. You take the lessons, not the longing. You take the standards you learn to protect, and you make them unbreakable, because the next time a woman tests your worth, you won't need to scramble for answers, you'll already be living them. And if you're listening to this while still in the middle of that sting, I'll leave you with this. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.